I'm calling this meeting of the Crooked Creek Art League to order. I'm late. I'm sorry. I'm 1 minute late. And I'm sorry. I was trying to get things done. It's good to see everybody. I like the fact that we've gotten the numbers coming in and everything is good. And everybody is excited about the jury check. And I know we're going to bring this up to you later when the jury choke people, I asked them to speak, but I'm going to say, I know a lot of people are waiting until they get their third meeting tonight for MIGS, but please make sure you sign up by Thursday if you're doing it online, but you can still bring your artwork on Saturday. They'll tell you more about that later. I know we've been walking around talking. Anybody interested in a board position on one of the committees or leadership? We've already filled a couple of the positions, talking to people that we've asked to step in. But if there's something that you know you're good at, please write your name down. So we will call you and hit on you if we can. That's scary. Okay. I want to, where's Karen Larrabee? Stand up, please. I would like to thank Karen Larrabee for all that she has done as our mentor master leader. She has asked that she be removed from the position for the rest of this year. For those who don't know, poor girl's trying to move completely from here to here. And she also has some health issues with her son. So I'd like for everybody right now to give her a big round of applause. Not be part of this league because we know how much you love it, and thank you. Barbara. Yes, ma'am. I'm asking you the things you needed to talk about.
Free reign.
Yeah.
Anything I want to. Be careful. That's dangerous. I have two things I'm going to touch upon briefly. One is the community art project. Those are both in process. One of our artists is here tonight. You want to say anything about the piece? Now, you have your mouth full of food. This is Olga, and she's doing one of the two pieces, and I'm very excited to see it.
Hey guys, my name is Olga, and I'm so thrilled to be able to work on this piece. I am very excited to try one of the new techniques that I've been working on. It's not completely new for me. I've already made one public art piece using this technique, but it's a little bit different from what my regular body of work is. It will be a combination of mosaics that will be completed out of some regular mosaic materials, stained glass, ceramics, but also ceramic sculptural pieces, like more like if you can envision like high bar relief pieces that will feature the flora and fauna of Lake Merett, because obviously Lake Merett is one of the key things you think about when you think about Chapin. So, and it will be beautiful and colorful, and hopefully one more thing that I had to keep in mind, it's very visible from the road.
Yes.
That's something to keep in mind. So again, thank you for your trust, and I'm very excited to be a part of that.
And we can't wait to see it. And one of the other things, well, I mentioned three things. So the second thing I'll mention is one of my other hats that I wear is webmaster. A bunch of you are patron members, and if you have not yet, or you need to update, send me data for your online gallery pages, and I'd be happy to help work with you to get those set up and operational for you, or update it depending on what you need. But if you sign up to be a member, it's free. Take advantage of it. Do it. So let me know. Okay. And then the third hat I'm wearing at the moment is
Chairman.
I'm not sure how I got to be chairman, but anyway, I'm helping with the nominations committee.
I just made
Apparently. So anyway, I'm helping with the nominations committee. So Kate, yeah, it's very subtle. Kay mentioned this already, but we are at the time of year where we need to fill positions, and we have some officer positions that are still vacant, and we have a number of committees, and we need people to be chairs and or co-chairs to help with some of those committees. And we will in no case put you in a position and say, good luck, have fun. We always partner very closely with everybody to make sure that they have all the information, the resources, and the assistance that they need to make sure that the job gets done well. So if you're even remotely thinking about something, but you're a little afraid because you haven't done it before about it, stop that, because you can do great and we can help make sure that you have all the things you need to be able to do great. So the committees range across a variety of things. So I'm just going to run down a list real quick. I will tell you also that on the website, if you go to members and boards and committees, there's a list of all the different jobs and the description of each of those jobs. It tells you what it takes to do that job. So you can have a better understanding of what the job really entails. But if you have any questions, you can also ask the members of the nomination committee are myself, Kay and Kay Stallings. Where did Kay Stallings go? Oh, here. She was way over there now. Okay. So any one of us, talk to us. We can tell you more about it. Tell us if there's something you're thinking you might be interested in or that you know you want to do. And we will be more than happy to put your name down for that. And if I don't get volunteers stepping forward, I am notorious for finding people and saying, will you? And not letting go till you say yes. Yes, yeah. So I'm kidding about that. But we really do need to fill all these jobs. And I will tell you that the very, very best way to get the most out of any organization, including this one, is to get involved. You can get things by coming to meetings. You learn things by coming to meetings, but you don't really get the benefit of the networking with your fellow artists and learning from them, finding about opportunities for shows and exhibitions and other things that you can really do to step up your art game. You don't learn about all those things unless you get networking with people. And the best way to do that by far is to start working with some people on things. So I strongly encourage you to get involved at some level, whatever you're comfortable with, because it really does make this league much more beneficial for you as a member. Okay, Karen?
And it can't be all bad if once you get on the board or a committee and you're on there for years and years and years because you want to be.
Right.
It can't be all bad.
It can't be, and yes, and there are a number of people who say, well, I've done enough of this role, but give me another one because I don't want to leave. So that tells you something. She's absolutely right about that. So thank you, Karen. All right, anybody have any questions about any of that? Okay, you got that.
And thank you, Barbara. I figured the best way to tell you that was in front of everybody where you couldn't go. Bobby and Diana are not here. We have the Irma Library show in May. Please remember, the prospectus will be online probably by the end of the week, maybe first of next week. We're making it updated, so make sure the prospectus is there. Son, you got anything you want to say? Workshops. Okay.
Still room in all of them.
There's still room in the workshops, and it's a great way to get involved and learn. And say, our judge will be in charge of the one that's, the price is good because you get an extra day. You get 3 whole days of workshop with her. So please look online, look at the workshops and get involved. Judge show. My 2 bosses.
Well, we're down to the wire now, finally. The jury show is, a week to go to hang the show on Saturday, week from last Saturday. And you gotta have your pieces in by Thursday, right? Oh, you can't hear me? Oh, sorry.
Not Saturday.
Saturday.
Online entry closes on the 23rd.
Third, okay.
In-person registration is on Saturday.
Yeah, you still could bring your artwork and
But online's better.
yes, online is better. And that ends on Thursday.
Correct.
And so far, we only have 31 members who have,
There's 2 now.
oh, we have 32? Okay, 32 that have sent in their artwork. So I know there's a lot more artwork out there waiting to be sent in, so that's all good. So we have posters for the show in that box back there on the table, and we wish that if you have a place where you think you can put it up, but they'll let you put it up in the window or in the business, you take some of these tonight and advertise for us.
Can I just say, this is our last year's jury show winner. She is on the poster for this year, Miss Dale Bishop, and this was about COVID. So you can ask questions about it, but this was from last year's jury show. And then
we have postcards. We've got a lot of postcards back there. This was Lisa Albertini's artwork. And so take a handful of postcards, and you don't have to mail them, hand them out to your friends, whatever, tell them to come. There's a month that the artwork is going to be hanging, that they can just come over and see the show. And this is last year's program. And there's some of these over on the table too, if any of our new members might want to have one.
tell us who our sponsors are, and has some good information in it about the prizes and stuff. So.
Okay, then the other thing is we still need volunteers, and we sent around clipboards for food for the reception, which is on March 24th, Friday night.
And that is our general meeting for that time. We won't have a Monday meeting. It's the 24th. We also need volunteer setup and cleanup crews. We need kitchen helpers and servers. So these are going to go around as well. We actually still need someone to chair the food section of the reception. That's somebody that will come and help gather the meat trays that we've got ordered from some of the places on the day of, and set up what Carol has wonderfully done for the last few months, the food and how it's going to flow and all that. So if you're interested in taking that on, we'll help you. And we'll help you know what it is that we need you to do, but we really do need a food chair for the jury show still. And that sign up sheet is over on the back table. I'm going to pass these around. The food ones for the jury show are all ready going around. That's it.
Please bring food or whatever you can, however you can help. We do need volunteers to put this show on.
I'm going to remind you that there's a lot that goes on, and the show is not just going to be our members. Some of our sponsors will be here, so you'll get to meet the sponsors. And it's going to be different this year in that we'll have food in here. The food will be there. We'll have tables for you to sit at here. But when we start the presentation of the awards and the show, we're going to be in the gym. So it's going to be new. And we're hoping everything is going to go great, because anytime we do something different, you know, there's always monitor and adjust. So just know, and we're excited about that, but you'll be able to sit down in here and enjoy the food, but no food or drink is allowed in the gym. And just remember that, and remember that our guests, that we have guests that come, and make sure that you're cordial. And if you run across one of our wonderful sponsors, make sure you thank them. Because I'm hoping they're gonna all come. Sandra, is there anything you need to add about publicity? I know you were looking for pictures from
workshops or meetings that we might have this past year.
Anybody who has pictures from workshops or meetings from this past year. The pamphlet will be redone shortly. Once the show's over, the winner of the show goes on the front, and we'll need to sub out the pictures on the inside. So we got up-to-date pictures, so people know we're just not hoarding and not saying, somebody will say, we did that 10 years ago. Because I can tell you it happens, but we're not in that boat. We want new things and all that in our pamphlet. So please make sure, if you have that, please share it with Sandra. And I'm going to be quiet now, and I'm going to turn the program over to our Vice President, Deb Kelly, and let her introduce our speaker for tonight, our presenter for tonight, and enjoy. And thank everybody for coming.
To make sure I've got this close enough. Can you hear me okay? Awesome. I'm very excited to introduce to you this afternoon Ginny Merett. She's been an artist and an art educator for over 4 decades. So I think she can handle this group tonight. I'm asking you all to behave, be on your best behavior. You might be reprimanded if not. Ginny is known for her eccentric collage works. And over the years, she has used various media to create her art, but for the last 10 has devoted her time to creating multimedia collage pieces. And you'll see some samples of those tonight. Inspired by stylish women and ordinary faces and images, she portrays unique characters using parts and pieces from current day and vintage media. She most recently was named one of the top 15 artists in Colombia by Influence Digest, and that was in August of 2022. And I could go on and on about her accomplishments. She's been in solo and group exhibits at Stormwater Studio. She was in Art Fields, Coder Center for the Arts, the Jasper Project, USC's McMaster Gallery, SC State Library, and other local venues. Her work is published in the Jasper Project's Jasper Magazine Spring 2019 and Fall 2022 editions, and in Shelter as the artists respond to the 2020 pandemic, and in Bullets and Band-Aids Volume 3. At this point, I would like to go ahead and introduce Ginny and give her the most time possible to present her work and talk about what she does and her inspiration.
Okay.
Thank you, Ginny.
Can you hear me? Working. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored to be in the presence of such talent. I kind of keep up with you guys on Facebook, and I'm so impressed with your work and your league. I'm really impressed with the organization. Thank you, Debbie, very much for thinking of me. Tonight, I brought a bunch of examples of my work, but I brought examples of my work through the years because I wanted you to kind of see how I've grown. I was an educator for 30 years. I taught elementary art for 25 and high school art for 5 years. And during that time, I was really focused on my students' work, but I also did a lot of artwork too, mainly to make money. And so
I just had to share my screen so that they can see it online.
Okay. I never forget a face, and that's true. I moved around a lot growing up, and I don't remember names very well, but I'll remember your face if I see you out again. You may not remember me, but I remember you. And so that's my kind of logo thing. Sorry, was it? That's all right. So tonight I want to share with you some of my inspiration and my process and kind of where I've been. Okay.
Okay.
Hello to the people on Zoom.
Yeah. We thought someone was trying to get in that wasn't in.
This is so cool. Is he in his car?
Yeah, that's TC. He's driving. Well, he was at the shop for a little while and then he got in his car. He's headed home, I guess.
Okay. We can go to the next slide. Some of my influences and some of my favorite artists are collage artists. This is Hannah Hope, and she was an artist back in the 1920s. Can you see? Okay. Anyway, she was an artist back in the 1920s, and she was a collage artist, very political. But what amazes me is how contemporary her art looks today, and how people back then must have thought of her work. It's crazy. So look her up. She's got some really dynamic collage pieces. So she's one of my inspirational artists. This is David Hockney. Each one of those rectangles is a photograph. And so he would take photographs at different angles of the face and or the landscape and join them together and call them joiners. He said he wanted the portrait or the person to look like they were constantly moving. So I get a lot of ideas from him. And then finally, John Singer Sargent, just because of his skill of portraits and the human figure and how he's a fantastic painter. Back in the 80s, I did murals, and I did murals in businesses and homes to make money, of course. And I moved here in 1987, and I lived near Lexington, Oakville. And I went to them and I said, can I do a mural on the inside of your building? And they said, no, but you can do one on the outside. So I got a picture of the old employees of the old mill, and I did the mural. They've since taken it down, but you may have seen it if you traveled through Lexington. I did watercolors also, about the same theme with people, families on the porch, getting together, groups of people. This is watercolor. I liked how the watercolor overlapped and made new shapes and new color. So I would outline each shape even back then. I also did a ton of art commissions. I was a single mom and I raised my kids alone. So I was also a teacher. So any kind of money I could bring in helped. So I did a lot of commissioned portraits, and that was one of them. This is a current portrait that I've done. This is Stephen Chapp. It was part of the artist drawing artists at Stormwater, and he drew me and I drew him. But I think I got the best bet because he has such a cool face. That was colored pencil. So I've done portraits for a long time. A collage, it's in French, the word coller or coller, I guess, means to stick or to paste. So a collage is anything you stick pieces of paper or other objects to a base, and usually they're touching or overlapping. Very basic. I've taught collage at schools. I did collage when I was in high school. Covered liquor bottles with sayings, and gave them gifts and all that kind of stuff. So when I retired 10 years ago, I was just playing around with different media, trying to figure out what it was that I wanted to really focus my time on. And I pulled out my grandmother's photo album from the 1920s and started collecting photographs of her and my great aunt and my grandfather, because they knew each other when they were teenagers. So I did this. This is called The Gallery. It's 21 by 35 inches. And it's from a photograph. But I started playing around with collage. I used a lot of text in the background, and all the colors are from magazines and so on. And I cut out eyes to put on from somebody to my grandmother and grandfather. And every shape that you see is a piece of paper. I outlined every shape so people can see that that is a piece of paper. From there, this is an example of photograph. My grandmother wrote all over her photographs to tell everybody who was who. And it's about this big. It's very small. But this was the second piece I did, and this is called The Wright's House. This is my grandmother. She's a girl, a young girl right here, with her mother and dad and her sister and the neighbors. And the story is that Mr. Wright, who's wearing suspenders, my great-grandfather was a mortician, and my grandmother wrote on the picture that Mr. Wright was so big, they had to haul him, when he passed away, they had to haul him out of the window instead of the door. So I thought, this is perfect. So all of this is collage, and then I did a wash over the sky, and it was all text, so I did a wash and outline. My process of collage is unique. I get magazines and I basically flip through the magazines, and I immediately see what I want. It's either a texture or a color or a face or eyes or a hand or feet. And I tear it out and I make stacks. one stack might be very important pieces. One stack might be hands I'm going to use in the future. One stack might be cool backgrounds and so on. So I divide my work into stacks. And I know like stacks of what, but I have about 5 stacks that I work out of all the time. Okay. These next few slides is going to show you my process. And if you're a painter, I work kind of like a painter. I do the background. Well, first I draw the image that I want to make. And in this case, it was a person's head. And so I just drew the shape of the head and kind of the guidelines where the eyes go and stuff. I put in the background. And then this particular piece, which is over here in the end, I'm doing a series of people with patterned faces. And so I filled in with the pattern pieces. And where it's white, I knew I was going to cover it with something else, so I left it white. So I found the eyes and the nose and the mouth, and it was somewhat proportional to the size of the head. So I glued those down, but I wasn't real happy with the eyes. So I went back to my stacks, or I have a little box full of eyes and noses and mouths. And I start digging and looking, and I pull all of them out, and I start looking. And then literally eyes, nose, and mouths. I may not use that, so I put it in the box. So I changed her eyes, and the eye on the left, I had to cut off a little bit to fit behind the nose. So it might look kind of realistic, kind of. Here's another example. From there, I start looking through my stacks for ears, hair, ornaments for the head. I always like to add crowns on my figures, then they're usually women. And I found her chest, and I glued that down. And so that's kind of the steps. There she is. I found a snake I put in her head, and the 2 lights, spotlights that are decorations were on her hair. I also did some outlining before I finished because I got excited that it was dry. And then here she is, somewhat finished. Put in the text in yellow for her clothes. So that's the process. It's a matter of what I have is what I use. It's not that I start with a plan, it's kind of intuitive. I just go along with how it's progressing and search for something. I go, oh, I saw something I could use in that stack and I can use it. I like to do groups of people, because usually if you have a group of people, it's a joyous occasion, mostly. Especially tribal people, their garb to me is just beautiful. And I can really play with the colors and the textures. This is called The Gift, and it's 11 by 14. All the eyes and mouths and hands are separate. I got those from different magazines. This is called Standing Woman and Cat. If you see a group of women together, they're usually having a good time. And my friends are important to me. I live alone, so the people that I surround myself with are really lift me up. And so I wanted that to show in my artwork. This is a really good example of the feet that I find. I cut out the feet and glue those down. The hands and the feet don't have to be exactly proportional because we'll, with our own brain, make them proportional. It's kind of hard to explain for that. But, and then I designed the clothes. I tried to add solid color. You know, there's a color theory a little bit to it too, putting different colors together, complementary colors, analogous colors together, depending on the mood that I want. I also include animals in a lot of my artwork. This is called My Eyes Are Up Here. And I started out with the mouth. And I knew I wanted to do a person's face with that mouth. And so it just fit when I put three faces together. I found all the other elements of this. And then I found the breast, and I thought, perfect, you know, it'll fit in there, in her. And the hands, I cut those separate. Kind of defining what's beautiful. Is this beautiful? Is it grotesque? When you look at our current day magazines of what is beautiful, sometimes I'm not impressed. And so I'm kind of making fun of our current day in a way. This is a detail of the full figures. My grandparents, my grandmothers, and my mom even, but my grandmothers would never leave the house without lipstick or makeup. My dad's mom was a secretary from the time she was in her 20s. And she wore high heels every day to work. She wore the coat, the collar, the gloves, the hat, the makeup, and I just admire her for putting up probably with a lot of stuff when she worked. My mom's mom was a wife of a rancher, but she at 53 years old went back to school to be a teacher. And again, she had the brooch, the rhinestone brooch, the lipstick. And so all of my artwork kind of pays homage to the women in my life, or my ancestors. Even my 96-year-old mother, I was talking to her the other day and she said, I forgot to put lipstick on. She's in assisted living, but she still puts lipstick on to go to dinner and lunch. This piece was inspired. It kind of just happened. I was making a beach scene. That was my intent, with 3 women. And the things that I was finding were the black high heels, the black stockings, the black outfit, and the arms. And at that time, so Samantha Josephson had been murdered. And I just couldn't shake her. I just couldn't shake it. I was really touched by her situation and her death. So I made this in memorial to her. And this is called Morning at the Beach. I included the sun because if you teach elementary school art, you see a lot of suns in the artwork. And to me, it's always a sign of hope and joy. So I put that in there just because. And I've got a chair in the background that Samantha has missed. That was at Stormwater. At Art Fields. This one is stepping out. It's 24 by 48. It's quite large. I found the hat, the gentleman's hat, and the woman's shoes. And so I kind of wanted to make a couple. And that's what I intended to do. A friend of mine gave me a bunch of origami papers. So I had enough paper to do a large piece. I used text for the background because I can find a lot of text. And I painted the floor. I put a wash over the collage from the floor and the shadows in their clothing and their faces.
Are you using watercolor?
I used liquid fluid acrylic. Because go back a minute.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Anyway, and he's kind of homely. And if you're single at my age and you date, a lot of the men are kind of homely. So I just choose not to date. But anyway, that was my intent, trying to show him a homely dude, and they're stepped out. All his suit and everything I made. I drew it and then I filled in with papers. But there's about 4 different elements in his face alone, and different hair from cutouts, as well as her hat. Okay. This is called Boots. I found some boots that I used on the figure. They look kind of rowdy to me. And it's just, I play with pattern. I like to mix up patterns. And, all of this comes out of magazines. Sometimes I use like cocktail napkins. I'll show you in a minute a couple of those. And old music, old textbooks, old dictionaries are great because they kind of have a brown tint to them if they're old enough. But a lot of magazines, and usually I don't have to buy magazines. People are like, can I please give you my magazine? I don't, and so what I don't use are recycle. I throw away in the recycle bin. This is called Mrs. True. I included her. I just like her a lot. She belongs to Pat Gillum. But the headpiece is just a cocktail napkin. And her face is made of different papers of flesh that I combine and then cut out the nose and the mouth and the chin. It's all different pieces. I have about 100 of those eyes. And there's a certain ad, I should have brought it, there's a certain ad that's in almost every magazine, so I have a lot of those eyes.
Go back.
Yeah, the dress was part of the magazine ad, like it was a half moon or half circle, and I just cut it in half and split it to make the shoulders. So, and then I always like to include a hat or some decoration for women because they're like a crown. This one is small. This is 8 by 10, and I started out with the mouth. I found the mouth, and I'm like, oh, this is great. I love to use children's mouths on adults. It gives them a whole new look. Go back a minute. And then I found the eyes, and I said, what a cool contrast, you know, with the Egyptian eyes, and then the hand, of course. And the whole face, the skin is part of an old dictionary I had. So I'll lay the papers down sort of to shape the nose. Sometimes I don't, I'll just draw it in. But I included eyebrows and the eyes. And I just love the mouth, so. And it really shows you how expression affects people. You know, a big smile will affect people differently than the next lady. Found these gigantic eyes that were kind of bloodshot. She looks pretty serious. She's not decorated at all. I made this during the pandemic when we were in quarantine. It's large. It's 24 by 36. The blue dress is made from pages out of an art ed textbook. And I don't remember where I got the yellow, but there's a lot of that color in ads, especially M&M ads. This is called corsage. I got a present for my birthday, and the hat, the turban was the tissue paper in the gift. So while I'm opening the gift, I'm like, oh, this paper is great. Go back a little bit. The face is old music, old sheet music that I keep. And I just recently, I told you my mom went to assisted living. Well, we discovered piano music that was her mother's when her mother was a child. So now I have all this really fine, fragile music that I brought home with me. Anyway, she wears a corsage, and I think she looks very soulful. This is called Dakota, and a friend of mine gave me stacks of Architectural Digest magazines. There's not a lot of faces in that, but there is a ton of textures and fabrics and lines and shapes and colors. So I made a couple of figures with the robe or the gowns in a lot of textures. And also you can tell I cut out the hands, and she's wearing a hood. I wanted her to look kind of mysterious after I found the eyes, and I think she did. She is. This is called Attitude. And the face and the neck I painted with acrylic, with, solid acrylic. And the background is tissue paper with polka dots. I started with the mouth, and I don't know why I didn't put a nose. I just kind of finished it. And I think people, when they look at it, they put a nose in themselves. So I left it blank. The hair is text out of this dictionary. For a while, I was studying playing cards, and the figures on the playing cards, king, queen, jack, through history and the fashion that was used in these playing cards, and just the design was amazing. So I kind of took that and ran. This is called lace. And again, it's just pieces of that I find in magazines. It might be a section of a necklace. If you look in some of the fashion magazines, they have close-ups of jewelry. So I use that a lot. I use black tissue paper to get black. And anyway, Lady in Blue, the whole, everything that's blue was painted on top of the collage. Go back a little bit.
Oh, sorry.
I found these eyes and I thought, well, I'll never use these. They're not the same size. But once I put them down, she really had quite a unique expression, that she's very serious, but very serene at the same time. And then I painted her lips red and added lines of red around the piece. Okay, thank you. I did a whole series of small pieces, and this one is called Extinct, and it's my representation of the war in Ukraine. And when I saw those women and those children leaving Ukraine, it just broke my heart. And but this is a woman from Ukraine. She is almost extinct, and so is her country. And it's just so much like a dinosaur. They're going to be blown off the face of the earth, and that's how it appears to me. But this looks, at first glance, this looks pretty pleasant, but it certainly wasn't pleasant to make. And her face is about 5 different pieces of faces. Her arm is a different piece. Her neck is a different piece. And I outlined everything, even where the glue makes the paper ripple. I outlined that. I include that in the artwork as part of the artwork. It's a mistake, but it's part of my work.
Jenny, what kind of glue do you use?
I used a matte medium, like a gel. And then she said, what kind of medium do I use? And then I put varnish on top of it with UV protection, because magazine pages will fade. And sometimes I use polyurethane.
What varnish are you using?
Yes.
What varnish are you using?
Some it's I don't know the brand. I know the jar. Text maybe.
Good.
Yeah. Sometimes I use gloss. Sometimes I use matte, but it's UV protection. And then I just use regular polyurethane, water-based polyurethane for some of my pieces.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you use, is this on canvas?
Yes.
It is on canvas.
This is all on canvas. I started making them on paper, and then frames got to be so expensive. So I worked on canvas.
So can you use gesso with that? Is it like a gesso, or no, that doesn't work with that?
I like, this piece is on wood, and I gesso the wood before I work on it. But as far as the canvas, it's already gessoed. I don't spend a lot of money on my canvases.
Okay.
But I can frame them easily.
Like maybe Mod Podge to work with those?
I've used Mod Podge, but it doesn't last for years. And so I want mine to be kind of archival. So I'm also starting a series of tall women. They're 12 inches by 5 feet, 60 inches. And I just started, I had a board in the garage and I thought, oh, I'll make a tall woman, you know. And it's turned into a big thing. Now I have 18 and I'm working on the last two. I set a goal of 20 and they're all different, but my thing is tall women. A lot of women I know have been knocked off their feet basically and rise again and they stand tall. It's not so much about the height, but it's about the attitude. And they're all different and hopefully they all represent different women. But like I said, I have 18, I have 2 more to do. And I started getting low on my faces and my eyes, so I put an all call out to friends, send me pictures. So everything is collage, but I paint the background on those. And on this one, I did some printmaking with the Paisley. But they'll be on in a show at 701 Whaley in June through July in the hallway. So I hope you can come out. I'm going to have all of them. So all of them. Then my current series, besides the tall women, are the pattern faces. And I'm using the background in all the pieces because I have a lot of that paper. And I just start with some eyes, nose, and a mouth, and I draw a face to be proportional to what I find. And like I showed you earlier, I do a little bit of drawing on everything that I do to just kind of give me guidelines. And then on these particular people, these characters are what I call them. I just find anything and everything to put for their headdress. And this is called Extrovert. And this one is called First Nation, and it's called that only because my sister said, you need to call that First Nation. So I said, okay. Let's keep it simple. Go back a little bit.
Sorry.
I was trying to see if you could see anything. I like to use a lot of sculpture that I see, like garden sculptures, buildings, windows, fences, doors, ladders, and anything else I can find. Butterflies, try to put butterfly in everything. And so here's some examples of some of my work. These are the pattern people. I have 5 of those. I have no idea how many more I'm going to do, but that's what I'm working on right now. I hope that you've seen kind of how I've gone from the 80s, really when I started producing artwork to make money or sell or whatever, till now. And being retired helps a lot. I can work in my studio. Does anyone have any questions?
I don't have a question, but there's a whole table of free magazines back there.
Wow, who are these from?
Some of them are from me and some of them are from Anna.
Thank you so much. They'll be put to good use. You will see them. What's fun is people go, where's that foot I sent you? So, any other questions or comments?
2 questions. Your black lines, what medium do you use for that?
I use a marker.
Like a Sharpie?
Well, I use Sharpie, but they fade.
Yeah.
And I don't know the name of the marker off the top of my head.
What's the date of your show at 701?
The opening is June 4th, and it goes through July 29th. We're also having a poetry reading July 9th of the work, so you're welcome for that. Going back to my pens, I forget the name of the pen. I can show you a picture of it in just a minute, but they're archival, they don't fade.
And I have to ask, what's your favorite piece? Do you have, what brings you the most, biggest joy piece?
Wow, that's really a great question because Only a few I get really attached to. The ones of my family, of course, I'm really fond of those. But I've gotten to the point now where I'm running out of room in my house to store stuff. And so if somebody likes a piece and wants it, it's for sale. So, but thank you. I really enjoy each piece and I try to put myself into each piece. But I'm not too attached to everything like I used to be anyway.
Ginny, any of these questions that you're struggling to come up with off the top of your head, I can send you those questions by email afterward. If you send me the answers, I can push them out to everybody.
Yeah, I could show you a picture of the pen.
How many coats of varnish do you put?
I put 2 coats of varnish.
You wet the paper before you put it down?
I put down the medium first, and then I put the paper down, and then I put a coat of medium on top of that. And it'll start to puddle, and I'll press the brush into it to smooth it out. I want it as smooth as possible. If you'll look, it looks like one solid piece when you look at them.
So when you put a wash on like some of the backgrounds, do you do that before you put it on the canvas or after?
After. I do everything in collage, and then I put washes on some of it, not everything, but on some pieces.
After it draws.
Yeah, after it dries real good. And there's only a few pieces that I paint, but it's pretty, I mean, if you look up close, you can tell. Yeah.
Your creative expression, how you do work is just exquisite.
Thank you so much. I kind of feel like it's my alter ego because I'm very reserved and I don't dress flashy and I'm not flashy, but my artwork is very bold and I just have the greatest time with it. Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
Favorite magazines that you tend to use frequently?
Yes, there's a magazine called, a fashion magazine called W that I absolutely love, and it comes quarterly, I think. And so oh yeah, it's here. I'm going through it. I don't read magazines too much. And then I use Vogue a lot and Elle, and I think that's it. Those are the ones I use a lot. And then I get lots of People magazines. And I don't use those too much, but every now and then, if I do smaller pieces like this one with the size of the faces, I could pull a lot of stuff from the People magazine. But most of the fashion magazines I love. The one I hate to work with is, what the heck is name is the magazine, National Geographic. People give me tons of National Geographic. I'm like, no, I don't want National Geographic. So the paper's too thick. Yeah, Time magazine paper, tissue paper, I love to use. Anything like that. I have a cabinet full of tissue paper and I pull from that. Sometimes I get really nice papers. Very seldom, but sometimes I get really nice papers like at City Art, and I'll include that in my artwork depending on what I'm working on. Yeah.
Do you ever use maps?
Oh, I do use maps. I love maps. Yeah.
See it.
Yeah.
Will you ever do men?
Well, I don't know. No offense to men or anything, honest. I do men sometimes, but with a woman. And I did Elvis once and a couple other men, but people don't really look. They don't sell. Sorry. Maybe that's my subconscious. No, the homely man did not sell. No, he hangs at my house, yes.
Famous faces.
I do use famous faces, but there's some faces that I won't use, like Meghan Markle. I will not use her because her face and her expression is so recognizable. Let's see, who else? There's one lady that does a lot of ads. I can't think of her name, but I won't miss her. Oprah has a distinctive face and eyes and mouth. It's only Oprah, and I don't use any of hers. I also don't use people who have passed away a lot of times, or there's some tragedy associated with them. I usually don't use anything like that because I don't want anybody to think I'm making fun of anybody other than the non-person that's out there, you know. But I try not to make it about anything that's tragic or very personal, unless it's Samantha Josephson. And even then, you wouldn't, if you looked at that artwork, you wouldn't know it's a mourning piece. So. Somebody said, have you done children? And children are very hard to do. They, you know, they look funny with adult eyes and noses and mouths. So, but they're very hard to do, especially babies.
I didn't notice any of your pieces had glasses.
Pardon me?
I didn't notice any of the pieces had glasses.
Not many
They're-
do.
Okay.
Not many do, because there's not many glasses to cut out. They're usually on the head, or they're at a weird angle in the picture. But yeah, that's a good observation. I try to make all ages of women, and include older women. And so that's kind of how the pattern piece started. I wanted the pattern lines to look like wrinkles. Thank you so much. This has been great fun. Business cards up here, please. Let's be friends on Facebook or Instagram. I'm also on the board of Jasper, the Jasper Project. So I brought a couple Jasper magazines if anybody would like one of those. Thanks again. This is wonderful.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know.
Attention, attention.
Not through yet.
Hold it. Jenny, I just want to thank you for a marvelous presentation. We all enjoyed it very much. Could you give her a round of applause one more time? And now it's time for our door prizes. And we're going
Have to work.
and you have to go to work.
All right, number between 1 and 11 for a Zoom first. 8. JMA 87.
That's online. It's Jimma.
All right, so you know who that is? You want to take a breath? Oh, you want to take that too? Okay. Now between 1 and 50.
38.
38. Hey, Stallings.
Okay. You will love this. All kinds of goodies.
5. Bebe Way. And one more.
27.
27. Maureen Carter.
That is a painting diary. I just found those and they were marvelous. If you don't know what one is, look it up.
What is it?
Painting diary.
Oh.
Thank you, Deb. Thank you. Sure, it was awesome.
Great.
In fact, I can't wait to go home and try to figure out how to do it.
Good. I hope so.
That's all I was thinking. You know, where can I get this? Oh, I got lots of magazines I need to get rid of. So you and I might become magazine buds. Thank y'all very much. I do want to go back and remind you we have started, I think, a new thing accidentally. We have a free table over here that anytime you have something that you're willing to give away, please take it. There's bubble wrap today. Everybody needs bubble wrap. Just so you know, especially with the show coming up, if you need to wrap pieces when you're traveling with them. But that's over there. There's books, there's magazines, lots of good things over there. So please make sure that you take a part of it. Because we don't have a whole lot of room to store it. So if it's not taken, you may have to take it with you or find somebody that will take it with you because our closets are kind of full down there. Just being honest. I thank you all for being here. There's at least 61 people present between Zoom and here tonight. Again, very good numbers. It's about 10 less than last month, but we're still happy. We're still happy. I'm going to remind you to go home and work on your pieces. And I'm going to remind you that those of you planning to register online, to please do so. Give us a day or so to get your attendance in if you're waiting on your MIG. Never mind. They'll be up by tomorrow as far as your MIG status. If you needed this third meeting to be eligible, please make sure that you do that. This show is a MIG status where you've got 3 meetings and have paid your dues. So please don't forget that. And I'm looking forward to a great show. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of you this weekend as you bring in your artwork and we get it all hung. I'm real excited. And I thank Kay and Laney for all their hard work and everybody that's assisted them in the process. Because it's not, and like Barbara said, we're a team, we're a family. We are there for you if you take a role next year, I promise you. So, thank you. Safe travels home. And as of now, the Crooked Creek Art League meeting is adjourned.